What's happening? I'm Eddie, the Skinhead Gourmet. Today I'm going to teach you how to save a few bucks on your grocery bill and stop buying broken down chicken, buying whole chickens, cutting them down yourself, and cutting the price at least in half, if not more. Oi! So first step, when we're breaking down our chicken, you're going to want a good knife to break this down with. And you're going to want to make sure it's sharp. I'm talking fucking Roddy Moreno sharp. And you're going to want to use preferably like a nice little fillet knife. And I've also got a chef's knife handy for breaking apart some of the bones and connective tissue that'll be a bit trickier. But how we're going to start, thankfully this chicken's already been somewhat cleaned. I've got all my gizzards lined up here. I'm not a huge fan of organ meat from chickens. I'm going to put this aside with the leftover carcass because I'm going to be using that to make stock later, which is what the bones, the skin, and everything that's basically would be considered throwaway is going to be great for, because then you can get more use out of everything. We want to waste as little as possible out of this bird. And if you've seen my earlier episode on how to make a stock, you can take that carcass and roll that right into getting some stocks, which you can use to enrich rices, soups, all kinds of sauces, and it'll have a variety of uses. You can always take your stock, put it into ice cube trays. You've got something to work with. But now we're going to teach you how to get more meat for less money and save you a couple of bucks and stretch your buck. Because if you're like me, you're a working class schmuck that doesn't always have as much to spend on food as you'd like. Now this may not be everybody's favorite method, but the way I like to go about it, first things first, I like to break off the four limbs, which is where your chef's knife's going to come in very handy. You're going to want to find the joint with your wings and on your legs, and you're going to want to just get in there with a nice, somewhat heavy bladed knife, and you can separate them out very easily. It's going to make the rest of the process go a lot easier for you. If you ever try to make a turducken out of a turkey, chicken, and duck, this is definitely a necessary first step, because we would want a continuous piece of meat under here. But for our purposes today, we're just going to go down to all the usable meat cuts so we can get as much meat as possible for as little money as possible. So we've got the legs and the wings off. Now you can either go and you can start peeling the skin off, and one thing you definitely want to do is just kind of get a couple fingers in there and check it out, make sure there's nothing left inside. You want to make sure you have all your giblets out. So get at least knuckle deep in there and just check it out, feel around. I'm going to be taking the skin off. A lot of times it's easy to just get a finger in and start peeling, and you can already see what looks just like the breast you buy in the store that's already been cleaned. This is not exactly hard work, and it's totally worth saving usually at least $1 a pound on letting somebody else do it for you. Now you may have a problem getting that last little bit of skin off at the bottom, and this is where the knife's going to start coming in super handy. And as the skin comes off, you can start seeing all your recognizable parts that you're going to want to go for. You can see we've got two nice big breasts, we've got our thighs, and most of this meat here is going to be a little on the tougher side, and this may just get left onto the carcass when we go into the stock. We're going to make sure we get the spine out, so if we want to recover the meat from the stock, we're not picking out all those spinal vertebrae, and it'll be a whole lot easier to use. And it's great to take that shredded chicken. It's wonderful in soups, not bad if you have to. You can re-season it and give it a quick cook. You can make tacos, all variety of different stuff. Now to separate the breasts, now that we have the skin off, you can see you can open it up a little bit, and you're going to feel where the bones and the ribs are, and you can just get a knife right in there. This is where the little flexible like fillet knife is going to be wonderful, because you can just follow the ribs, and you just basically, all you need to do is loosen this right off of the bone. If you leave a little bit of meat on, it's not the end of the world. You can always go back, and you can always get chicken scrap. Going to be great for if you just want to make something that's already going to have
chopped up chicken in it. If you're a pet owner, your dog will absolutely love you. Or you can also use this to give a little bit more of a hardiness to your stocks. There's any variety of uses for this, and there's absolutely no reason to let any of it go to waste. It's more or less a question of how involved you want to get and how much time you want to spend, and also what your uses and needs are. And you can see we're just going up the breastbone and loosening everything up. You can see once you get the knife in, everything comes off very easily.
So I'm going to separate my two breast portions that I have, and you're just going to get all this fat and the connective tissue out. I'm going to just put this into my stockpile, because this will all go right into the pot, and it's going to just bring flavor to your stock. Always remember, fat equals flavor. It's the difference between ice cream and ice milk. And be careful. If your knife is sharp, you definitely want to watch your fingers. Nobody wants their chicken all bled over. You can see these pieces left here are what are often sold as chicken tenderloins. Easy to go along, remove them as well. And I can almost hear some of you saying, but Eddie, I like bone-in barbecue chicken. If that's what you're doing, it's a much easier job for you. You can take your chef's knife and just go right along the breastbone, and chicken bones break very easily. This is why they're not good to give to dogs. And even if you're not saving this, or you're not doing bone in, it'll make it easier once it's time for it to go in the pot to have this all opened up and splayed out like this. Now, much like some of you may like to do to your favorite lady, you're going to want to flip this over and get those thighs up in the air. And we're just going to go loosen up some of the fat, and you're going to want to feel for bones. You're going to see the thigh bone right here. We're going to cut down through here, separate the thighs. It's a wonderful little piece of dark meat that has a lot of wonderful applications. If you've watched my taco episode, this is some of the best meat to make a chicken taco out of, because it holds up well to a lot of intense cooking, because it's going to be a little extra moist. It can take the heat, and it can take more time being cooked. And it is a very flavorful piece. If you don't care for dark meat so much, it may not be your favorite, but it is great, especially if you're going to be flavoring it a lot or cooking it a lot. But once you get that off, you're basically almost done. And then we're going to just start following the thigh bone and getting this last piece of thigh so we can get these off and get them cleaned up. Not a whole lot of chicken left, and you're going to see the spine here where the ribs connect. I'm going to bring my chef's knife down right along the sides of it, because I am going to want to we're going to use the spine for the stock, but you can wrap this up in cheesecloth, so if you do want to pick the meat and keep that, if you have this in cheesecloth, this is a whole bunch of tiny little bones that you're not going to want to eat, you don't want to choke on, but you do want all this flavor, especially the delicious marrow contained there within. So, we just took a $4 chicken, and we've turned it to what looks like it's going to be at least 3 or 4 meals, plus I've got this huge bag of stock meat that I'm going to be able to stretch quite a bit. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying boneless, skinless breasts, tenderloins, legs, thighs, or anything like that. If you buy them a few at a time, you don't mind taking an afternoon, breaking down a bunch of chickens, you can stock your freezer for fairly cheap, get a lot of use out of it, and save yourself some money and still be able to eat well. Thanks for watching. My name's Eddie, the Skinhead Gourmet. Thanks for watching. Oi, and remember, if you're going to fuck a chicken, don't do it at the bottom of a cliff. It's a good way to get crushed by a boulder.